Well, in my session on creating and maintaining an engaging company culture, I really talked about the challenge of working with a culture is that it's actually kind of the white space on the organizational chart. No one really owns it. No one's in charge of it. And yet it deeply influences everything we do every day. So how do we change culture? How do we move it towards an engagement culture? Well, several things. First of all, we need to see the culture is really made up of a set of beliefs and norms and values that really determine what people do every day. And that maybe may be more powerful than what formally the organization says, this is what we're all about. This is what our espoused values and our strategy are. So when we look at culture, when our actual practices run contrary to our expectations, especially if our expectation is full engagement and we don't get that, there's some cultural values and norms that are pushing people in the opposite direction. So if we really want to change the way organizations operate, we want to move to a full engagement kind of strategy, then we need to look at cultural maladaptation. There are cultural elements that are maladaptive to that desired expectation of full engagement. So whenever there's a disconnect between what we say and what we actually practice, then we need to look at this. There's another set of values that are driving people in a different direction. So what we explored in this session was try to surface some of those underlying values. And the underlying values may be that each person is in it for themselves, or that if you get what you put in. What we're trying to create is a different set of values that push back against these maladaptive elements. So when we're looking at creating a full engagement culture, so how do we leverage the desired values through both formal and informal mechanisms? And that's kind of what we ended, is that when we want to move the organization towards a full engagement culture, we need to use the formal mechanisms of performance goal setting, performance reviews, new employee orientation, to imprint upon people that these are the cultural values that reflect full engagement. Well, we also need to recall or bring out that using an informal approaches or mechanisms is equally as important. And that includes storytelling, celebrations, kind of recognizing each other's success, whether that's formal or not. It's done on kind of a peer-to-peer basis. So when we try to change a culture, it's about understanding why people might be behaving other than the ideal, understanding the underlying values that are driving them in that direction, and changing those values to reflect a more engagement, full ownership culture. And to do that, we need to be very intentional about focusing on formal mechanisms through setting goals and holding people accountable, and new employee orientation and how we hire people, making sure that those reflect our cultural norms that we want to imprint. And then we use the informal mechanisms to facilitate peer-to-peer engagement, celebrations, recognitions, and rewards that are not formally done, but informally across the organization.